We are born into the realm of the infinite, a tapestry of endless possibility and mystery that circumnavigates the imagination and illumines the soul. As our days on earth unfold, we accept what our physical experience tells us, and we forget our connection to our unbounded spirit. We seek answers, plying the unexplainable with logic, definition, science, reshaping the limitless to contain it within the finite ether of our conscious minds. And just when we begin to celebrate triumph in our quest to understand the universe using algorithms and data, someone will appear to gently remind us of the truth. For more than 15 years, hundreds of thousands of people across Europe have experienced the healing gaze of Braco. Coming from every corner of the globe, people make the pilgrimage to his healing center in Croatia to heal their hearts, their minds, and their bodies.
You are the reason why Braco's here in Hawaii, and I'd love to hear your story and your experience along the way, starting from how you met Braco and made this connection.
I had never even heard about Braco as of the beginning of last year. And simply a friend sent me an email, and she said, this is someone who's a healer, but he's unusual, and I think you're going to be interested in him. Of course, then I started doing research about him, and I found out he is this extraordinary individual that over 200,000 people come to see each year at gazing events, and that these healings take place, miracles, life transformations. Just the stories were phenomenal.
Well, thank you for joining us in this early morning hour once again for something that we really feel is so special, and we're so honored to be able to bring you Braco all the way from the other side of the world. Braco is in service, heart, mind, and soul. And because of the degree of devotion and service, he has become a conduit for an energy so sacred, so powerful, that it reaches out and creates spontaneous healing miracles, awakenings. It brings people their answers to life challenges and flows to your dearest wishes.
How many Braco gazing sessions have you been to now?
Two.
Two. And how have the experiences been? From the first to the second?
I had a probably deeper experience today. And every time I felt he was gazing at me, he was kind of getting blurry, and it became a golden light, and became very bright.
I've had some amazing experiences, and on one occasion his whole upper torso turned golden. And then on another occasion, as his gaze came to me, I just had these, it was just like a shower of golden specks, like a confetti just flowing over my body.
Over your body?
Over my body, coming through, and it happened 3 times. It was shh, like this, and then again shh.
Would you please share your experience with the gazings with Braco?
Okay, when I look at Braco, when he comes on the stage, I see him all in light, shining, and then he starts to pulsing, his whole body, face changing, and I can feel tears in my eyes.
The first time I experienced him, it was just such an incredible, I don't see a lot of auras, just maybe fields and stuff, but the light that came through and down through him was just so beautiful. All I could do was just grin from ear to ear. I mean, it was just the greatest joy of my heart.
Today when I was watching him, it had a little blue outline around him, and I don't see auras, so that's kind of like, what's that?
I saw that this morning also.
Please share some of your experiences with Braco this week.
I saw him as he stepped up to the podium. There was this huge white light that came along with him, and the light extended outside of him. It was violet, white, and gold. And then I saw millions of lights all around him and coming through into me and to everyone. And it just danced. The lights shimmered and danced. And as he stood there and looked, and I could feel his gaze over everyone and blessing them. And it's just an overwhelming feeling.
It was interesting when he left the stage. I could still see his aura up there, standing there still, and I just kept looking at it, and it slowly kind of dissipated a little bit at a time, kind of dropping down and down and down. But it was amazing to me that it was stuck there.
There was a lot of white aura around him, and a lot of pink and green, and a lot of really, really neat colors.
How was it today for you with him live and right in front of you?
It's great. I saw, for the first time I saw this cap of a aura up above him, kind of floating in like this and floating out.
Like a baseball cap?
Like an aurora borealis. Okay. Yeah, it's like an aurora here. How it kind of fades in and fades out.
Oh, wow.
Oh, look at that. So, plus this, all this stuff too. So. The wiggly stuff. But I don't see the angels walking in, columns of light like everybody else says they see. But, that's pretty good for me.
That's great.
Because I'm as grounded as a rock, so I don't have these experiences. To see this little aurora up there was really fun.
It's like this light started towards the bottom of him. I was looking at his face, so it started and it just got brighter and brighter and brighter. And I realized there were huge streams of light just popping, just streaming out of him.
Within 10 seconds I saw him shapeshift, and then I didn't go back for any other readings, and then I heard all these people saying, oh, he transforms himself, he shapeshifts so much, so I was so glad I got to see that.
I saw his face morph and his aura.
And over the last 2 or 3 days of watching him, there's this beautiful golden glow that many of us have had a chance to see, this auric glow. There's also an extraordinary golden light that jumps out of him. It's very exquisite. It's almost hard to look at, it's so bright.
Can you tell me about your experience with Braco from the beginning, how you came to meet him?
I met Braco while I was in Croatia 17 years ago. Of course, I had a lot of experiences in Croatia, but here in Hawaii, what I felt, it was much, much stronger in the following sense. When I was looking at him, I had I could see a lot of transformation of many times. I'm looking at him, and I saw, of course, different faces. I saw Mr. Ivica, the person who was working with the people, interact before Braco. And then I see a lot of different faces in front of him. I don't see Braco anymore, so it's a changing morph. And then what also I experienced in last 2 sessions, he was at least 1/4 started to be bigger, taller completely. And some sessions before that, couple of sessions before that, it looked to me like if you have a couple of buckets of liquid yellow gold, you splash and he was completely in gold, like a human being, but everything, eyes, nose. I couldn't believe what a wonderful feeling. And how that was happening with the gold, he was completely shining, and I would say this much I saw his aura completely in gold. And then the feeling after, even after he leaves the stage, it's something extraordinary. Altogether I would say something wonderful.
Could you share with me how Braco started this whole process of gazing and making the gaze?
Yes, well, before he was making the gazing, he was actually seeing people individually. And, you know, hundreds and then eventually thousands of people in a day would come to see him seeking help with their lives, whether it was physical illnesses or relationship problems, career, finances. They would come. And he would see them one by one, and he would talk to them very briefly. Sometimes he would touch them. Sometimes he would put a signature on a piece of paper or a book and hand it to them. And these were all ways to convey the energy to the individual. But there came a point in 2002 where he had so many thousands of people coming in a single day that it was now impossible, even though sometimes he would work 36 hours straight because he never turned anyone away for healing. It got to the point where he couldn't help all the people who were coming. And so he spontaneously began making the gazing without thinking about it, without planning it. He just knew that it would work. And so he stepped before, you know, thousands of people his very first day and began making the gazing. And what's really remarkable is over time, the number of healings and the intensity of what was happening for individuals grew. And so Braco's ability, the power that he was able to demonstrate here was growing.
As people stand before Braco, the unexplainable fills the remotest corners of their being and gives them permission to become a perfect expression of themselves. In the silence of his gaze, the possibility of transformation offers reconciliation between who we are and who we can be.
So Ivana, you have known Braco for 15 years?
I think 14 years.
14 years?
A long time.
And you met him before he stopped speaking, is that correct?
Yes.
And how has that been for you to work with him in the gazing in relationship to what you'd worked with Braco in the spoken time?
Gazing is definitely the best experience.
Can you tell me about your experiences with Braco?
Every single experience I've had has been completely and totally unique.
The gazing sessions are something special.
You know, people really come into their own. They get a sense of power. They stand taller. They stand, boom, they glow. They have purpose.
And the momentum of our life has really stepped up. Just seems like things are just moving really fast, but it's also very easy. It's very much flowing and it's fun.
Because I closed my gallery in June, I had lots of questions about profession and my art, and I'll tell you, Braco has like, you are an artist, stop it. I just got it. It was like, and when I got that, it totally changed everything. I started getting tons of commissions. I've even gotten from him visions of work that's already done, you know, that's kind of like from, I don't know where it's from, but it's like, it's really great.
It's like becoming more who I am.
I just had this really a great settling into who I am and into my body, and I just feel so much more confident in who I am.
I called a friend of mine up and I said, watch the YouTubes a couple times a day,
4 days later, she called me and says, I have more confidence.
I've had a new love come into my life.
I feel grounded and strong inside myself.
More clarity.
Clarity.
Clarity. It's like I had this total focus.
A lot of peace.
Very peaceful.
Immense gratitude.
Big joy.
A big bubble of love.
Tears and giggles.
I just smiled through the whole thing because all I could feel was such immense love.
It's hard to put words on love.
Truly, just being awestruck about being in the presence of such pure love.
It's been said that the art of healing comes from nature, not from the healer. Therefore, the healer must start from nature. Braco enjoys a deep communion with nature, drawing from her rejuvenating energies and nourishing his body and soul as he revels in her wisdom.
Braco is someone who actually would never call himself a healer.
I had a problem with my neck, and I couldn't turn it, I could only go so far with my neck, and just during the gazing, this heat came out and actually hit right in the neck, right where I had the problem. And the next day then I could turn my neck, and it just amazed me how, and it was very hot, a very hot heat.
I didn't actually feel any physical changes. But about 2 or 3 days later, after we'd got home, usually when I get out of bed, I have to take it very careful because my back really kicks me at that time. And then it gradually fades off until it's nearly bedtime, and then I start over again. But on about the 3rd day, I got up out of bed and I was walking around and I thought, hold on, my back doesn't hurt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was totally blown away. And it hasn't affected me since.
Were you at all of the gazing sessions
Yes.
between then and now?
All the gazing
Okay, so it was continuous, and your back was still feeling good.
Yeah,
and,
it hasn't. And I've had this problem for close on 20 years.
Wow.
I'm supposed to have degenerative disc disease, but well, if I did, I haven't got it now.
I have asthma and stuff, and it's doing really good now. So I almost started using my pump, but I guess I don't need it now. So I can I don't know where that came from. But it could be connected. I don't know. But,
great.
But this past week, I've been really having a hard time because of the cold. And so, but today is like for some reason, it's a good day, and I'm not tempted to use that medicine pump that I use. And so I think we're going down the right road right now, so we'll see.
Yesterday I had, one of the photographs I had was of a friend he's a Navajo, and he has rheumatoid arthritis. So I took his photograph into the session and just asked for perfect healing. And I did that every session, took 2 photographs each time. And last night I was wondering, I wonder if anybody got anything. And this morning I was having breakfast and my cell phone rang, and it was Michael, and the message was, did you see that healer yesterday? Because I received this amazing, powerful energy that I have never experienced before in my life.
And another little boy that had cleft palate and was in surgery situations, and they're turning the screw to get the jaw to do stuff in excruciating pain. And he and his mom were not sleeping, and it was just really intense. And he was so frightened by all of his medical experiences, he didn't even want to see me. And so I knew to explain to him, I won't touch you, I won't hurt you. And then I brought him in a couple days later with my gazing session with Braco. And he was supposed to have a couple more weeks of that kind of turning the screw and being intense. And it wouldn't turn anymore. After I saw him that next morning, it wouldn't turn. And so all the surgeons and all these people all over the nation were concerned, like, what's going on? So they finally had him seen the next day, and it was all healed. Wow. So the surgeons and everybody were pretty freaked out in an awesome, weird way, and kind of love that. And so the stories go on from there.
About a year ago, I injured my shoulder, and I've been nursing it. And for the first couple of months of the injury, I couldn't even move my left arm. And slowly I've been able to move it more and more and do more things, but it's still been very limited. And then during Saturday morning when he was gazing, I actually felt a specific healing going on in my shoulder. I thought, oh, that's cool. I welcome that. And after he was done, I went outside and I tested my shoulder and saw, how much better it was, and it wasn't any better. I thought, well, okay, I'll just whatever happened happened. So that's great. But what I hadn't really put together, that was Saturday, and this is 4 days later. Between Saturday and today coming back to hear him and be part of the gazing again, I've been doing construction on my house. And I've been putting up these 4x8 panel sheets of plywood, which are pretty heavy, and not just on a lower wall, but I've been putting them on walls up to 15 feet high in our house. And I didn't realize that I've been using my shoulder the whole time that I couldn't even use before, and lifting these plywood up. It's still a little limited, but I wasn't able to even go maybe about that high with it. So it's gone quite a bit more, and I'm welcoming more.
Well, I guess I'll just start by saying that I have something wrong in my brain which causes pain on the left side of my face, and it's a 24-hour, 7 days a week kind of pain that I've been in for over 4 months now. And I did the first gazing, and I walked down the road, and as I was walking back, I realized I'm not experiencing any pain at all.
I lost significant hearing in my left ear. And when I go to sleep at night, when I roll over on my good ear, I can't hear the Kokies, and I also can't hear my husband. Last week, when we came first on Thursday, and Braco wasn't here, and Angelica was talking, and so, of course, I could feel the energy of Braco in the room, even though he wasn't here. And in the middle of her talking, I felt a significant shift in my ear. And I even mentioned to my husband, I'm feeling this. And afterwards, I was very excited, and I allowed for it. And when we did testing, there was no difference in the way I was able or not able to hear. But I just blessed it. I didn't go, oh, I didn't get anything. Oh, that was just my imagination. I just allowed it. And what happened last night was, once again, we were chatting in bed, and I rolled over to go to sleep, which means just total silence for me. And Derek was still talking, and I heard everything he said. And so we did several tests, and the whole, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? And I could hear everything he said. It's not as clear as my right ear, but I could hear.
I have a really, really sore foot that's been sore for a long time. And I just noticed after the 5th or 6th time of seeing him, the pain's gone. And then I also bought the sun. And when I went home, my grandson had been stung by a Portuguese man-o-war jellyfish from here all the way down his arm. And he wouldn't even let me touch it. So I took this off and put it in his hand, and he went to sleep with it in his hand. And the next morning he woke up and the pain was completely gone.
The second time I went was absolutely, there's nothing that can compare to the miracle. My mother is 97, and she had been on her deathbed for like 4 months, and she'd lost a lot of weight, and she had bed sores that were like this big because she couldn't move, and even though she was having wonderful care, she just couldn't get better because she kept losing weight. And it all started from pneumonia, and then it's like the pneumonia did this thing, and then she got this thing called MRSA, and it was in her mouth, and it's a type of a staph, and she couldn't eat. And so I was there on a Thursday, and then I got this call that I got to be able to go to a Braco Skype gazing, and I held her in my mind. I forgot her picture. So I held her in my mind. And then the next day I went to see my mom, and I walked in the hospital, and she was walking down the hall on a walker with a nurse on each side, and they're all going, my God, this was a miracle. She just got up this morning and wanted to walk in and eat breakfast. She hadn't eaten anything but like a cup of little something for a month. It was the most amazing thing, and the nurses all came to me and said, your mother has 9 lives. Something happened. It's just, she just got up this morning. We don't know what happened. That's the miracle.
The energy that moves through Braco is unbound by time and space. It has no limitations. It requires only an open heart and a pure intention to receive it.
I mentioned Skype and said you could actually see me and I could see you, and he was delighted. And then that idea blossomed into the idea, I bet people could feel the energy seeing you via the Skype, even though you're, on the other side of the planet. Let's try it in Hawaii. I was just in my home, and Braco was in his healing center in Zagreb. So literally opposite sides of the planet, and he made the gazing for me. And afterward, when he was complete, he came back on and said, did you feel it, Angelica? And I just, oh yes, I felt it. Oh yes, let me call people right now to get them in, and they can tell you what they feel.
First time I just cried, like immediately my water just poured out of my eyes. I could barely see him on the Skype session because I was crying so much.
It's an incredible thing, like this Skyping. Yesterday all I did was cry through the whole Skype.
A couple tears came down and I'm just like, oh wow, I'm not this kind of, I'm thinking to myself, I'm not this kind of guy.
Crying, I don't know why, crying.
I probably had 15 to 20 Skype sessions and was one of the first groups that started with Skype. I was the experimental group. Each Skype session just felt like it built more and more, built my body, my strength. Everything in my life began to change. Physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Just things like lots of openings began to happen.
I've had 2 Skype sessions with Braco initially, and they were both pretty powerful. The first I was a little skeptical, because here in Hawaii we have all these healers, right? So the first one, I was brought to a total place of stillness, which is a little unusual for me because I usually can hear energy and feel a lot of what's going on. And then I heard his voice very clearly speaking to me, and it was about some personal details of my life. But what was lifted from me was this huge burden. And I could feel it just lifting off of me. And when I left that session, there was just a feeling of joy and a lightness to me that I hadn't felt in a long, long time.
You went to the Skype sessions? Yes, the first time I had a Skype session, I was really skeptical because I had really serious injury to my back. And I had broken 2 vertebrae in my back in 1987, and I have been to everyone and to get it fixed, and little by little, I was able to walk again. Long story short, I ended up being able to look functional, but the entire time I was in a great deal of pain with a muscle spasm that was 4 inches thick and 2 feet long. And I was living that way since 1987. And so I was kind of skeptical if I would ever get better than that because I'd been living with it that way for so long. And so I heard about Braco, and I went, oh yeah, another healer. And then there was something about how my friend was telling me about him that I said, okay, what do I have to lose? I'll go over to Angelica's house and sit down and stare at this guy. And so I felt the energy in their living room before I went in, and my whole body felt very hot. And then when I went into the session, I'm standing there looking into the computer screen, and the only thing that came up from a real true part of myself was, please help me. And the next thing I felt, this heat going around my torso, and my spine independently straightening up. And then I noticed I had no more pain. And it happened just like that, in a matter of seconds. And then, of course, my skeptical mind was still going, yeah, well, wait till tomorrow. So the next day came, and I was out gardening and really overdoing it. And, of course, I was overdoing it. I was out in the garden for 6 hours, and so my sacrum, a different location where the pain used to be, a totally different location, started aching because I was out in the garden for 6 hours. And so I came back in my house, tried to relax it by lying down, and it just wouldn't. And then I just closed my eyes, and I pictured Braco's face. And then it all relaxed and let go.
When you were here today, when we did the Skype,
yeah,
what was your feeling there?
It was overwhelming. The Skype was so close to my heart. It was just like, it's right there. I cried. I really felt that the tears of joy, purification, like something is being taken away, then this like stuff melting away. And because I'm very much into connections with the eyes, and the gaze is one of the way to connect to the soul. So it was like a divine essence looking at me with such love, such a gratitude. It was literally a unique experience for me.
To see him large, that big in the hall, to be able to have that kind of an up-close, intimate experience, it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful use of technology, and hopefully it will be one of those first steps that we're taking towards taking back all of our power and potential, and to use the technology and to love it and to embrace it and to let it really move us forward. I'm ready. Hooray for Big Skype.
In person, the whole presence, of course, is there. The Skype, though, concentrates on the eye. So you can truly see the divine, and you can see the light very clearly through the camera, which is really wonderful.
Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It may be compelled or resisted, but it will always be. It ebbs and flows, a swirl of potential laced with determined creative expression. Stealth, chaotic, constant.
Can you tell me a little bit about the voice and how that works in Croatia as well as what was happening here?
The phenomenon of the voice is interesting because Braco began doing it when he was traveling on tour to other countries. He wanted to leave people in Zagreb with something to connect with, that they could have the energy even when he was not there, in a very powerful way. So he wrote a beautiful dialogue to spirit, words to encourage spirit. And he went into a recording studio and he read these words out loud, and it became an 8-minute recording. They brought it to his healing center and they started playing this for groups. And people experienced the energy, the physical healings, the emotional healings, the life transformations, just by listening to his voice. And people accepted this phenomenon. And in the voice sessions, the people reacted so positively. And the healings took place, And so then the voice began to be used in other countries, not just Croatia. Now, another interesting thing with this is that in other countries they play it in only Croatian. So in Germany you hear it in Croatian, though most Germans don't speak, of course, Croatian. So they literally cannot understand the words, and yet the healings are still taking place.
And once again, it's my deep honor to bring to you Braco's voice.
Došli ste u susret meni, Braci, mome pogledu ili glasu, ne znajući da li ćete me vidjeti ili čuti. Ali to je nebitno, jer to ne možete niti čuti, niti vidjeti, nego jedino doživjeti i osjetiti. Ja, Braco, odnosno moja snaga je tu, u sve vas koji to priželjkujete i nadate se da ćete dobiti ili osjetiti ono što je doživjelo tisuće drugih. Tu sam da vas prigrlim, sve istom ljubavlju i toplinom, istim mislima i željama, da dobijete ono pošto ste došli. Neki će to dobiti možda ovaj put.
My first scientific experiment I did through the YouTube, when he's just talking Croatian. And first I listened to it, and then I just went through, took out the voice and just did it with what he was saying, just the words, and just used it as sound healing. And I actually had no more pain for 14 days. It was slow discomfort. I've been dealing with so much pain in my right foot because of my injury to my right foot for a year and a half, and it sometimes feels like I'm going to go crippling in the right foot. And so that was like, wow, I went on the counter. It was 14 days. It was just very light discomfort. I didn't have
And that was YouTube?
That was the YouTube.
Okay.
And I said, okay, I'm just going to do this my own scientific experiment. I was like, wow.
The first voice session, I've never been able to visualize. Someone would say, in meditation, close your eyes and see a sun. And I couldn't even visualize a sun, but after that, I was seeing sacred geometry and planets and spirals, and it was really one of the most remarkable experiences I've had.
When it's over, I like to go lay on the floor for the rush. Yeah. Did you ever used to do crystal grids and lay in the crystal grids?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like that, only amplified by 10.
Suddenly, I couldn't breathe. Maybe I guess I'm going to somewhere, so I'm so worried about everything. So I believe some energy comes through my body and under the ground, just kind of electric. So my hand, both of hands, shaking, and my foot and also so hot and shaking everywhere.
I could feel my hands tingling.
Just a wonderful tingling sensation. And toward the end, a lot of heat.
First it got really hot.
And immediately I felt a warmth and a lightness.
I felt this intense heat.
I started feeling like kind of hot, like just my whole body was like starting to heat up a little bit.
The voice was amazing. It's wonderful to hear his voice, to have the imprint of the energy from the voice. And his message also is what we've all been saying to one another about. He's bringing in divine love, he's bringing in the love of the source, the love of the creator, for all of those who partake. And he said that. It was really beautiful to hear his voice and then him deliver that message that it's for all of us, that he is representing the source, he is representing creator, and it's whatever we would like of that we may have.
Hawaii is a magical healing paradise, a sacred landscape where countless millions have journeyed to reconnect with joy, play, and their inner rhythm. The way of spirit is the way of aloha. The islands and the Hawaiians recognize Braco as a kindred soul, welcoming him home with open arms.
It's a pleasure and a deep honor to have you here in Hawaii.
As a kahuna, as a teacher here in Hawaii, and now meeting Braco, how do you perceive the work that he does?
The first time my initial visioning of him was also through the Skype, and I sat there and I looked at this brother on the screen. I was like, how beautiful that he can sit there and be so in service in such a way.
Is this your first time in Braco's gaze?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes, I did not want to miss it because I heard about it and I knew I needed to be here when I first heard about him and his blessed gift.
Have you ever experienced something like this here in the islands?
Not quite this. No, this is very new for us here in Hawaii.
And how was your experience in the gaze today?
It was a very powerful, sweet experience. I was very receptive to his gift. It was an honor because kahuna are sharing people. It's the ohana circle, the circle of family, the circle of love. Aloha means the divine breath of pure love that has no ends and no conditions. It's divine and it's for all eternity. And this is what I received from him, and I share it with others, and it comes through this sacred temple of ours.
Kalea and I are special here in Hawaii as native Hawaiian kahuna. And we had an opportunity to really feel this mana. And when I say mana, I mean to say what, Braco has. And it's very powerful what I felt from him when I first saw him. And because of this, I got all excited. And, I felt that there was a need to bring him over to Moko'ola and to have a time with him for the Hawaiian people.
We're coming to this point in time. It's the most magical time in history, in humankind, in fact. The most magical time to be on this planet right now. And everybody here is just as important. And that's one thing that me and him agreed upon, is that there's no high, there's no low. We are all here to help each other. And that's the service that he does. He comes here with a very open heart. His ability, or the things that he does, is specifically to help you in whatever way, shape, or form. And that medicine can change from person to person to person because it's reflective upon what you need, what is needed for you. How can we be of service to you? And I like that. I like that, and I admire it greatly. And he's a good brother.
As a kahuna and a healer myself, I need sometimes another healer to look up to, and every master have a master too. So we all have to look for somebody that we can get guidance from. I have this thing when I kind of go to church, and when I in church I tend to cry because when the Holy Spirit's around, I just tend to it's a good cry. It's more of a happy cry. But the first time when I met him, it just rained, and I think that's a good sign right there alone.
The Earth Mother has summoned you to come here so that you can be received in her water, be blessed, in order for you to be able to continue with your work on this planet.
Where is his real roots? It's here, right on this island. That's why when he came here and he went to Waipio Valley, he felt it. And as I heard the story about hands coming out to meet him, Hawaiians are very spiritual. They connect spiritually. That was his family making connection with him. They were talking to him. Welcome home, welcome home.
Do you feel there's a similarity in what Braco's doing with other things within the Hawaiian culture and healing practices?
Yeah, because his for me it's like a lot of awareness, and through awareness a lot of the accurate knowledge will come through that you need, and that's kind of important because, well, truth will set you free. Yeah. And that's where I got to, get to. So as a healer, there's many ways to heal, and this is just one form of it. And but he reaches a lot of people, and that's pretty, this kind of reminds me of when they were speaking in tongues to people, where you can like speak one language and everybody understand. But this is like that, because you don't have to have a language, but you still can get spoken to through the Spirit. And that's how the Spirit works. And that's why I know that this is real, and this is right there where I need to be in. So, because it's what I do too.
Number one, when I first met him, I knew him. When I looked at him, I knew that he returned home. So I actually believe that he's been out traveling all these years and that he has returned home. That, and what I mean by home, like I was telling him earlier, home is where the heart is, and for people like us, we can be at home everywhere we're at, because of the amount of times that we've been back and forth, because of the amount of life experiences and different lifetimes that we've had in different cultures in different ways. We're able to transcend color, race, creed, tribal or attachments, to be able to address everybody in that open way.
We are so honored to have you here. And I would like to say that it's not only us here in bodies, but also of ancestors, those who have gone before us. They are all present and so happy and honored that you have come here.
And yes, I do believe that he will come back here. I won't give no time period, because all time is right now. He's here right now, therefore he's home. And we'll see how that pans out. Yeah.
The wellspring of all that is, the source that magnetizes consciousness with purpose, chiseling experience from an unhewn void, presses gently against the cheek of manifestation, urging dreams from their cocoons, coaxing love to dance with spirit.
So after making the gazing, he also stopped speaking in public, is that correct?
Yes, and there are many reasons behind that, but in my opinion, two of the most important reasons are, first of all, that Braco is not about giving a life philosophy to people or about explaining the energy and what's happening with the energy. How can you prove the energy is the first question. But it really is, it's the people themselves who prove it through their testimonials. And, with over 80 films to date being made about Braco, which all hold these remarkable testimonials of people whose bodies were healed, whose relationships were changed for the better, every part of their life affected in the most positive way. All of these stories together create that solid proof of what the energy can do, and it's not Braco telling it, it's the people offering it.
And I love that it's silent. I think we've had plenty of words. I'm a writer and and an author, and I just to step out of words for a moment and just feel a pure transmission was very sweet.
What I appreciate about it is that he does something that most people don't do, is don't say anything, which is refreshing, because everybody has a story to sell, and he's not selling one.
When Braco first began doing this work, press, of course, would come. And even though Braco has never in his life given an interview to press or media, well, they would simply start to make stories because they wanted something to play on the airwaves. So they would just create what they wanted to create as the story and put that out as if Braco had said it. And so it came to a point where it was important that these misunderstandings would no longer take place. And so Braco stopped talking so that, again, it wouldn't be him trying to explain something, but that the people themselves could demonstrate it.
It was just incredible.
You never know what's going to be healed.
I could feel like this pouring of the cup of divine.
It's so beautiful. It's pretty incredible.
What's your perception of what's happening?
Well, in my opinion, just as Braco is a conduit for the energy because of his level of consciousness and because of this degree of service that he holds to Source. That is so complete that he has been chosen to be given this sacred gift that he is passing on to the people. And in my opinion, that is all working toward this divine manifestation of us taking a step in human evolution.
What do you think is happening when Braco's just gazing and looking out there?
I think he's tuning into a very pure vibration of the divine, and obviously he doesn't have ego about it. So I think in that presence, he lifts anybody who's with him, and if you're tuned at all to it, then you lift to that same energy field, which is a great blessing.
When people clear themselves, are able to, and obviously he's able to do that, they become a channel or a clear conduit for the source or the energy field or the field that we are all in together, you know. And when somebody can do that, it's amazing. I mean, he's just amazing. He's amazing. What can I say? He's amazing.
He not only communes with each individual as he's gazing through, but he at some point in time can take the whole group, the whole collective, and treat us as one being. And then once he has us like that, it's like, okay, anything can happen. And I think that's amazing that anybody can do that. It's very important to work with large groups of people in that way.
And, you know, as a doctor, you know, Braco is broad spectrum. You know, he has a broad frequency that a lot of people can tap into, a lot of people can get benefit from. And it's, you know, he has a flavor that's really beautiful and really gentle and really sweet and really, like there's no dogma to it. You don't have to do anything. So, you know, so in the ice cream store, you know, his flavor is a really good flavor.
So I got the real sense that there was a prelude to something that I've been sort of anticipating happening in the next level of consciousness taking place for our collective. And that is that I envision a future in which you'll go to high consciousness events and there'll be an absolute phenomenal party taking place, a conscious emergence taking place, but an absolute seeming silence to the ears. But the first eye is definitely connected in that regard. And I could see this being a prelude to the next level of consciousness that's wanting to come in. And his gaze may be more than just a healing on some level for some people. It might be an activation for others, and it might be a number of things for whatever the people need. But the basic thing is, what I felt in the end was sort of a prelude to a new paradigm way of invoking a sense of power beyond physical action, power beyond the need to do, just the presence and the ability to be.
It's not just activating the light in us, but it's activating it everywhere.
It felt like we're all creating this. We're co-creators, and he's kind of coming in and just reminding us that we're co-creating our reality. And it doesn't need to be a negative reality. It can be something really, really positive.
And how I see this happening for the world, because I do. I see that this is what this kind of thing, this kind of consciousness, this kind of, some call it miraculous or miracles, but I just call it an amazing shift, so that if each of us can go inside and find who we really are, other than the garbage and the stuff and the habits and the whatever, that's who we are. We are love. We are happy. We are everything that we've ever wanted and everything we need. So as we go into that space through Braco's gazing, then we can bring that to other people and other people and other people. And I'm, for one, hoping that the whole world can help with this shift. And I'm very, very grateful for this experience.
Someone that can escort in the divine love at the pure level that he does could change the entire planet. It could bring the hope that is in everyone's heart. It could awaken that. And as we all are a hologram, the hope then would expand throughout the entire planet. Just by we standing here today are affecting people all over the planet because of what we're holding and what we've seen with him today and felt. And the changes that we've had are already changing people all over the world.
much light. It's like this light
So I could feel
started
that, but
towards
there was an equal amount of heat.
He has a connection,
I'm thinking, this is interesting.
When
Because
I first looked at him, I seen this beautiful child.
It's wonderful to see the light that comes through him, that radiates through him, particularly through his eyes. When you see him and you're in his presence, there is no doubt that we're in the presence of the divine unconditional love.
I'm Jane Sibbett, and it's way too bright out here, so I'm going to put this on. Being a producer on the Braco project has been one of the most amazing experiences for me and my family as well. We've experienced incredible healing. Personally, I've experienced incredible healing. I had unbelievably debilitating allergies, and by the end of the time that I was shooting the documentary, they were completely gone. Actually, within 2 days of Braco arriving on the island, my allergies were utterly gone.
The biggest surprise was really to have no pain in my body. I've been dancing for most of my life, and I just grew accustomed to waking up in the morning and having little pains here and there. And after the intense Skype sessions and gazing sessions when he was here in person, even without notice, I just woke up in the morning and I'd just go through my day, and then all of a sudden I went, oh my gosh, I don't have any pain in my body, and that was huge. That was a really big one to me, and so I'm very grateful for that, and it was definitely one of the largest surprises.
There have been so many amazing moments in shooting the documentary. One day in particular was so emotional. I looked around at the crew, and we're all tears in our eyes coming down our face as a man came forward sharing how that his mother was dying and that she hadn't eaten in a month. And he brought her in a picture to the Braco gazing session. And the next day he went to the hospital, and he said that she was walking down the hall with her walker with nurses on either side saying, it's a miracle, it's a miracle. And just hearing this man talking about his mother, that she was walking and that she was eating for the first time in a month, beyond having these little tiny, gnarly cups of hospital food. She was eating again.
It was a joy. It was a huge gift to work with these, with each and every person that I was working with. Just whether it was a large, great healing for them, or a huge life-changing experience, or just a subtle, minimal questioning experience. Just even to watch our on-camera producer, Megan, working with the people and seeing how the activation of when they would come out and share these stories that were so incredibly moving, and having her take that and also uplift it and send it back to them, and this ball of light and joy that burst forward from every single interview that we had. It was just remarkable. People, this was funny, people who came to, we would ask them if we could interview them for the DVD, they would ask, they would say, I don't talk well on camera, I'm too shy. And then they'd come out of the session, and we called it, they were Braco'd. They were suddenly eloquent, they knew exactly what to say, they had the perfect sound bites. It was miraculous. I think that if you want to be a good public speaker, you have to be Braco'd. I felt like they were all walking out of a big Christmas experience, like, or a big present opening experience. Just, oh my gosh, you know, there was like this new experience of themselves that that beamed off of them.
Every single day we experienced the most incredible miracles. Every day we'd have these people come out completely transformed with their stories of spontaneous healing, or a healing of somebody else, or transformation, or epiphanies. There was even a man who came who was completely skeptical, and he even left. He goes, well, I kind of felt something, and then the next day I ran into him in town, and he was telling me that he had one of the most off-the-charts, phenomenal days in his business that he'd ever had, and the only thing that he could think of that would have made this whole business turn around like this in one day was that he had been to a gazing the day before with us.
A coworker of mine who had a big aha moment in his first gazing session with Braco. I'd watched his emotional self really get very tired and very depressed as the year went on, and when he went in, his response to the experience was, wow, everything's going to be okay. And then to watch how that turned around, and then to see him now, I think we're 3 months since that point, and his success level has completely turned around. And I haven't talked to him about it, and if he attributes any of it to his experience with Braco, but just knowing that at the moment he had that it's okay feeling come over him. Everything's changed just with him in communication, in the office, with his clients, with his family. Things have really turned around. So I think for me, just with him being a close friend, that was one of the greatest things to witness.
My own stepfather was in a wheelchair and in incredible pain, and so I asked my mom if I could bring him to a gazing. So I brought him in my mind because I was shooting, so I couldn't really hold the pictures. I brought him in my mind, and now my stepfather is walking. And he'd been in a wheelchair for quite some time and in terrible pain. And, you know, it's not perfect. He doesn't really have all the parts to make his hips really work well, but he's walking. And it's made such a huge difference in our family.
Along with just the joy of spending time with Braco and getting to know him as a person, and just seeing that he really is a person like you and me and all of us, and just sharing his gift openly, honestly, and really without expectation. Just a humble, beautiful person, and so it's an honor to be part of this.
I think it's really important for people to know too also that Braco doesn't want to be anybody's master. He doesn't want to be a guru. He doesn't want anyone to follow him. He has no philosophy he wants anyone to follow. And that's why he stopped speaking. He stopped speaking so that people would come to the information on their own, that they would hear the God within. They would hear the quiet whisperings of the angels or whatever their belief system was. That they would make their decisions on their own without him saying anything.
Which helped me understand a little bit more about Braco and the igniting of each individual, and it was that he's assisting us and reminding us of our light or our spark, and so people would walk out with this spark, and then I felt very blessed to, honored to be there and be reignited by all of the new sparks that were, or the people that were reignited when they walked out of that room.
I see the energy just going stronger and stronger, and I don't think it's just for me. I think for the world, it's getting stronger. The more the people come to this energy, and then they take their spark and they pass it on. I think we kind of build this bonfire together. That's what I hope.
It's been remarkable. It's a huge gift. I know for me and for my family and friends and for those that I've talked with, and I hope that the healing and the light that Braco shares can continue to travel and meet more and more people on this planet.
We'll see what happens once America gets wind of Braco. I can't imagine what this is going to do when people find out how incredible this energy is. And it gives me great hope for the world to have someone like this who gives so generously of this energy that is so beautiful. And I can't wait to see what happens.